the nose mask and then let it back in because it was uncomfortable or something. Now that's funny. We're like Pinocchio, right? I don't know if you guys know it, but Kentucky's had 16 inches of rain in a very short period. One of the things that's going to happen is the moisture will double on the earth temporarily. And because of that atmospheric compression, it will bring pop-up storms without a front. And they'll drop an enormous amount of water. So instead of 5 inches, it'll be 15 inches. And the snow, layers of snow and ice will build up, and then suddenly the next day it'll be 80 degrees, and Mike warned us about this before. He said, you're not going to have a fall and a spring. It's going to go from winter to summer and summer to winter. So very quickly, and that happened this spring. I don't know where you live if it was that way, but it was this way here. Instead of the spring lasting for 2 or 3 months, it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And winter was gone and summer was here. The leaves had come out and everything. The sun is about to shimmy. Its chemical composition of the sun is changing. And it's becoming cooler. But because of that, the infrared is increasing. Even though the sun is cooling down a little, the infrared is increasing, and that's one of the things that will be burning and scorching the earth, as is written in Revelation, is the increase in infrared on the sun, which happens when the sun cools down, I guess. But it's about to shimmy. The sun is about to shimmy. And I think that's because the chemical composition is changing. And the rains from the fresh water that's released by these glaciers, that water will evaporate quickly because of the radiation. So we're going to go from very wet to very dry. Yeah, in a short period of time. Okay, this is really interesting. There's a large body in outer space coming towards us. It will pass by on the 31st of July. That's 2 days away. And it has a debris field that they are concerned might affect the earth and start fires. If you see amber lights in the sky, it's part of that debris field. And he didn't say whether or not we'd see this thing. So we don't know if we'll see it or not. But it's going to begin on the 31st of July and go until the 3rd of August. Hopefully we'll get to see what that is. Hopefully it won't be any tragic events for people. And one of the things that Mike from around the world mentioned is that a lot of things, earthquakes, famines, droughts, comets, all of that is happening in a compressed ratio. Instead of it happening over a period of decades, it's happening over a period of years and days. So something that should have been, you look at all the changes that are taking place, that should have taken months. Instead of months, it's going to be taking weeks. It's going to be compressed, and that's going to cause things to be more chaotic. And that this is all, as far as we know, part of the effects of Nibiru, the 9th planet, and the binary star Nemesis, which has several planets rotating around it with several moons. So it's quite a force. Can't really see it because it's behind the sun right now, but it's on our ecliptic. And that's what's causing these issues. And the last time it was here was, I think he said it happens every 2,000 years. So it can go all the way back. It goes back to Exodus. When Exodus happened, a lot of things that occurred during Exodus, the plagues and what have you, were brought about. Now, that's not to say God didn't do it. He did it. There are no two ways about it. He allowed it and he timed it. But a lot of that happened when Nemesis was here before, which is about 4,000 years ago. And then maybe when the Lord was crucified, I'm not sure about that. but I know there were a lot of earthquakes. And a lot of the indigenous peoples recorded severe earthquakes around that time. That's what they do. They take out archaeological information that's buried from the ancient people, and they study that. They don't release it to the public because they don't want to freak the public out. They don't want business to stop, you know. And here's another interesting thing he mentioned. 114 cattle died, and they were all pointing the same direction. Weird. I wouldn't be surprised if that has to do with magnetism. And a bunch of sheep died too, and they were all pointing in the same direction. He didn't elaborate on what that force was, but he told us that. Now, the last thing I want to mention is that he had told us before that there's going to be a volcano eruption in South America that is attached to the plate that will affect California. I'm not talking about the San Andreas. It'll set off the San Andreas, but I'm talking about the Coast plate. Okay, so the Coast plate, which is down in South America. I believe you said Peru, and that area. Yeah, when something goes off in Peru, when there's a huge volcano in Peru, that they may very well release that plate, and that will have the repercussions of coming up the coast, going into the Sea of Cortez, where Mexico is, and all the way up into Seattle and Alaska. So it's going to be a huge, huge movement. So anyway, that's the skinny, as well as I can give it to you, about the earth changes that are coming. And check it out for yourself. I think you'll find that this man is very honest. He's on Thursday nights when Paul Begley interviews him, but he also gives updates on his channel on SoundCloud, Council of Time. Now, here's what the Lord had to say about all these things. Lord, what a night. And the Lord answered me, you listened to it twice to let it sink in. It was not a waste of time. You remember how good you felt afterwards because you were in my permissible will. So what I'm talking about is Mike from Around the World's interview with Paul Begley on the 28th of July, Thursday night. Thursday night is when Paul interviews him. And Mike from Around the World is with the Department of Defense. But he's one of those people in a very specialized compartment who is responsible for discovering threats to our survival, planet Earth, all kinds of threats, whether it be political, war, asteroids, anything. And they're very, very deep. The information that he gets a lot of it comes from archaeology, because things that are happening now have happened before. But he gets a tremendous amount of information from NASA and other sources, things that we would not be privy to. And he is permitted to talk about it. Certain items can be divulged and other ones cannot. So he gives us as much of a heads up as he can. His main interest is in preparing people for what is coming, so that they're awake. And, you know, to think about it, the motion picture industry has also got their orders from, I guess, the CIA or whatever. They did that movie 2012, and that revealed a lot of what is actually going on inside the earth, and also the Core movie. That also brought things up. And I'm sure there's many more. You know, there's things about aliens and what have you, but we don't watch movies normally unless the Lord puts his finger on one. And those two, he put his finger on. So we watched them, and tucked away inside of those movies is information about what is really going on and what's really coming. So was 2012, did that have the earthquake in California? Yeah, right. Okay. So I'm here with our community, and we're in our prayer time together. And the Lord had some things to say about what we learned last night from Mike from around the world. Anyway, the Lord said, you didn't waste your time. You remember how good you felt afterwards because you were in my will. You have a background in geology, and I know it is fascinating to you. The earth is unfathomably complex. In heaven, you will learn all of its many unusual attributes, even ones that impact those on earth that mankind is not aware of. You most definitely are impacted by the many and diverse energies at play within the earth. It is so true that sin on the earth, especially the deep-seated sin, where millions go into agreement with immorality, that generates energies fit for destruction of the very earth that allows you to live. Remember, I told you there are 8 dimensions. Man has his own reckoning of dimensions, but what I have shared with you are my order, which I created. As man becomes more and more aware of the fearsome aspects of energy created by the collective consciousness, he will use that information to manipulate it for his own selfish ends. And to be very honest with you guys, I'm almost positive that's being done now and has been done for decades. But there's higher levels of knowledge yet to be revealed. When I come to reclaim my domain, all of that shall end. My children, practice righteousness. Do not give in to temptations to cheat, steal, or manipulate. Be without guile, like Nathaniel. Those who beguile others shall themselves be beguiled. Lying, cheating, and stealing has become a way of life for many. What you sow, you shall in time reap. Do not give in to the impulse to sin. Oppose it, even violently, in your own personal lives. Yeah, sometimes we have to do violence to ourselves to keep us from cheating on something. We're so tempted. And remember, it's not all us that's tempting us. It's also the tempter himself provoking us. But we have to renounce that. The Lord continued, some of you are contemplating little white lies. This title, Little White Lies, is a justification for evil doing. The only time I approve of these methods are when unrighteous men make ungodly laws in order to suppress the faith and knowledge of God. That's why smuggling Bibles into lockdown countries is approved of by me. Just be careful not to manipulate this rule for your own personal gain, meaning cheating on your income tax to contribute to a mission. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and you will have peace of mind. Be men and women of integrity, lest you bring shame to my name. Men cannot fathom what is about to happen on this earth, or even what is happening now in plain sight. His mind has been manipulated to see things that are not there and to be blind to what is there. This is why you must go deeper in your lives, children. Do not be a part of the matrix of lies that are being daily distributed by the media. The source of these lies is none other than the father of lies, Satan, who is hell-bent on destroying the earth and enslaving its inhabitants, luring them to worship him in return for prosperity, health, and protection. Do not walk into the web of lies he has constructed over the earth. Rather, seek me daily, and I shall reveal the truth to you, either by word of mouth or by my spirit. But I will not leave you ignorant of the forces you are blind to. Along with this knowledge comes the charge to pray for these people who are in the grips of Satan's lies and empty promises. They will never be saved if you do not cover them with prayers for their salvation. Many of these believe they are doing a good and necessary thing by deceiving the public. It will be too late for them when these things that are deliberately being hidden happen. This is why I need your prayers for them. So many have been carefully formed since childhood. So many of these people in the government who are really lying and misleading people, they've been carefully formed since childhood to believe these secret agendas will bring a better world. They haven't been given the grace to see the truth. Pray for this, and I will answer that prayer. Lord, open their eyes. All around the world, my people pray, Father in heaven, please open the eyes of the blind and deceived so that they can see the real agenda behind many of these movements, such as destroying food warehouses, poisoning water, and using electrical appliances to spy on our personal moments. So many are being watched and classified into groups for the purpose of manipulating or destroying them. Many are marked for destruction and do not know it. But I laugh at the plans of men because I alone have the power to stop them and to protect others. Do not be afraid of any man. Know that I am with you and will uphold your cause. And if I wish to call you to myself, it shall be swift and merciful. Nothing is worth the loss of your souls.